Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. So, I literally had no idea what I was going to talk about tonight, and I prayed on it, and I just asked, please give me direction, and it didn't really come at first, and right as I started playing this song, it instantly hit me. So I started playing this. I literally clicked record, and the music is already set in my iMovie here, so it's playing. And I instantly, it literally, I remember just thinking, no, I'm just going to start talking and see where it goes. So I'm going to talk about my first awakening when I was 28 years old. It happened about a week or 2 weeks after my 28th birthday. That's very significant because after the 4th 7, there should be a spiritual awakening. That's generally when it's going to happen. And by the way, that's the same age when Jesus came back from the East. So years later, I found this out. They said, yeah, you're how do they say this? So every 4th 7th year, so 4 times 7, so 7 years old, 14, 21, and 28, there's generally a significant shift. And then you have another one at the age of 56, which is about 2.5 months away for me. So what I want to share with you is something that I absolutely know has happened to a lot of you on this channel who have gone through that really dark experience with a narcissist where you shut off, you isolated, because I want to relieve you of probably a guilt that you had thinking that you did something but you actually didn't. And it's the same experience that Jesus had when he was on the cross, when he cried out to God. And I don't know the correct pronunciation, but when I read it, I think it's pronounced as Eloi Eloi lama sabachthani. And it means, Father, why have ye forsaken? It means, Father, why have ye forsaken me? So I said in the past, a lot of you were abused pretty much your entire life from a very, very, very young age. Physically abused in very brutal ways, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, got put through spiritual warfare on a very, very dark, dark level. Whereas Jesus, on the other hand, he lived a pretty blessed life where he was protected, he was loved by his parents, he was admired. People, his immediate family knew this is a very blessed child, and because of that, they very much respected him, loved him, and they took care of him. So, Jesus' death being real, it is also symbolic of yours, and what I mean is what you went through. The story of Adam and Eve is not just about Adam and Eve. It is your story. It is exactly what you went through with the narcissist and narcissist abuse. It's about the shaming. It's about the lies. It's about the trickery, the manipulation. The story of Cain killing Abel. It's the same thing. It is the same story that you've gone through. Some of us have gone through attempted murders in our life by our very own family, from being overdosed in the hospital, wink, wink, to a bunch of other things, from being taken from the hospital and left in a frickin' house with nobody there, no heat and there's nothing in the middle of winter, wink, wink again. Some of you were brutally beaten as children. I mean, whipped with leather belts to where you bled for 2, sometimes even 3 days. Wink, wink again. Yeah, that was me. Now, then there's the story of Job, where he was this very happy, loving, wealthy, successful, God-loving man who had a very close relationship with God, and he did nothing wrong. I'm not trying to say he was a perfect person. That's not what I'm saying. But in essence, he was just a very blessed guy who lived a good life. And towards the end, when he was older, he had a family, wife, kids, had all this money, and just was living a good life. And the devil came along and say, oh, okay, to God, hey, I know that this guy, if you take everything away, he's going to fold and he's going to turn against you. And the devil did everything. He gave him boils. I think he even killed people in his family or close people, and he took his money, took his wealth, took this to where I think at one point he was literally barren wearing sackcloth. And eventually the devil realized, like, oh, yeah, I failed. It didn't work. And he was then renewed. And I believe a lot of you're going to be renewed and refreshed in the sense of your emotion, your spirit, and possibly even financially and even better friends, etc., etc. So these stories in the Bible are not about Job or Adam and Eve or about Cain and Abel, etc. These stories are about you. The problem is the church people, the men, were in charge for hundreds, thousands of years, and they used the external, dissociated, disconnected left male brain, and that's not how the Bible was written. The Bible is written in symbology, which is the right brain function. The right brain functions in symbology. Symbology simply is you say A, but you don't mean A, you mean something deeper, more meaningful B. That's symbolic communication. And this is something that men don't understand. If you say A, they actually think you mean A. And yes, ladies, I do teach this to men in my course, Crack the Female Code, so you can understand them, and so they can understand you when you say something but you don't mean it, but you mean something deeper, more meaningful. I've actually had men blow up at me when they would say that. I had one client, he was 50-some years old. He just went through his second divorce, and when I said that, he blew his lid because he was a very male, left brain. You say A, and you mean A, and that's it. And he literally slammed his fist on the table, and he screams, "Why would anyone say A but not mean A? That's insane!" And he ran out the door and slams the door. And I said, well, we know why he just went through his second divorce. So guys, the reason why we communicate in this way is because this is the most powerful way to teach your brain to actually understand something on a much greater level and a much deeper level versus the surface level, like, oh yeah, I understand the little surface crumb level, or one little dust level on top of the earth. It's like, no, you need to understand the depths of it. If you don't understand the depths of it, you don't understand it. And lo and behold, now we know why all the churches across the planet have never agreed on the Bible. Why I'm talking about church people, God-believing, Jesus-believing people who all believe in the Bible, the same book, the same text, the same verses. They just argue and disagree because they're not looking at it symbolically. If you look at the Bible symbolically, you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a whole new picture and group of stories being painted here. All of a sudden, there is clarity. There is understanding. All of a sudden, the Bible becomes very simple, literally. 1 + 1 = 2. That's how simple the Bible is. And if it's not simple like that to you, then you don't understand the Bible. Adam and Eve. The serpent, it was about you and me. It was about the serpent being the narcissist, shaming Adam and Eve, thus making them hide in their left brain, thus hiding and disconnecting from God, which is what this video is about. So I had made a lifelong dedication of reading the Bible multiple times every day of my life, praying multiple times a day, going to church multiple times a day on Sunday, going in Tuesday night Bible study, then youth group, and then being involved in every way I could. And then I started to meditate when I was 19 years old, and I got to the point where I was meditating almost all day on the weekends. When I say almost all day, I'm talking 14, 16, 18 hours. And this was about the 9th year or 10th year, something like that. It might have even been the 12th year. My point being is, like, I just like cried out to God, and I had so much anxiety, and I had so much confusion. Like, on the one hand, I'm taught this, but on the other hand, in reality, number one, it doesn't work. Number two, it doesn't make any sense. From childhood, whether it's your parents or the church or your teachers or whoever, you are taught so much shit that's just bullshit, and it's not even real. But you live by it because an adult told you to. I was a very smart person, a very smart child, very intuitive, and I remember I can think when I was 3 years old going, man, that doesn't make any sense at all, and I'm just a kid. But the entire country, the entire world, they're living by these lies, these beliefs that aren't even real. I mean, one of them was when Jesus says, "Mean what you say what you mean," and later on he says, "If you say into this mountain, throw yourself into the ocean, and it shall be so." And when the woman touched his robe, his clothing, and it healed her of her bleeding, Jesus didn't say, "Oh, my mighty egotistical self has healed you." No, he said, "Who did that? Who touched me? I felt energy drained from me." And the woman said, "I just knew that if I touched you, I would be healed, and I am." And Jesus didn't say, "I healed you." He says, "By your faith ye are healed, because you believed." And he even said this when Quintus, the Roman soldier, came to him, said, "Heal my son." And he said, out of all of you in this room, he has the greatest faith. He goes, "Go, it is done. By your faith, it is done, because you believed." And my pastor said, "Well, he didn't really mean what he said." And I was like, "What?" And I flipped back. And this is the gaslighting. And now I don't think the pastor was actually gaslighting. I don't think he actually understood the Bible. I don't think he actually was a believer. And then I said, and I went back to, I had actually marked it earlier in the chapter, and I said, "Well, you mean the person who, meaning Jesus, who said, 'Mean what you say and say what you mean'?" So here's what happens. You have all these conflicting beliefs, conflicting rules, conflicting values. One church says this, and even and then says that. And you're like, well, which one is what's going on here? You're raised in this either or, right or wrong, mentality. Yet they keep teaching you conflicting beliefs. Like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And it's because you're looking at it from the either or left brain mentality. It's not either or, it's and both plus and more. It's 1 + 1 = 2 + 1 = 3 + 1 = 4. So all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this is starting to make sense. Yes, it does. A lot of you, after you've gone through this narcissist abuse, you can reflect back and go, wait a minute, yeah, that whole shaming thing, that happened to me just like it did to Adam and Eve. And you start going, wait a minute, the Bible was trying to warn us. Like, a lot of you look back now and you're like, wait a minute, narcissist abuse is all over the Bible. It was painted clear as day over and over and over in all these different ways. They shame you, they blame you, they, all the games that they play. Like Cain, he went into such a rage, he killed his brother over pure jealousy. And you're like, wait a minute, that's exactly like a narcissist. They literally want to kill you because they're jealous of you. You've done nothing wrong. And like, well, wait, and then he turns around and lies to God about it, and then lies about this. And you're like, whoa, that's exactly like a narcissist. Yeah, judge them by their fruits. So you're praying and praying and praying, and you're going through all these trials and tribulation. Whereas with Jesus, it happened I think it lasted like a couple of days, a couple of weeks maybe. And with Job, I think it was 6 months, or maybe it was 5 years or something like that, or 6 years. Whereas you've been going through it your whole entire life. God respects that. God and the angels, and call your ancestors, whatever you believe in, they have a lot of respect for what you've been through. Nobody up there is looking down on you. Oh, they're weak. Oh, they're that. And I'm going to lead up to something. Number one, you have an entire rooting, cheering section for you. These people that were on the planet, they're up there. Your ancestors, your great-great-grandfathers and grandmothers and aunties, and all these people, all these spirits and beings, God himself, Christ himself, they are looking at, if you went through this whole narcissist abuse, if you got that far to where, whoa, what the hell, like you saw the mask fall off, now you're suddenly looking at all these people going, wait a minute, people have treated me like shit my entire life. You won the Super Bowl. You have no idea how excited they are, how happy they are. They're not cheering you to motivate you. They are exploding in cheer for what you've done, how far you've come. Don't let any narcissist convince you otherwise. That you failed, you're not good enough. You've already won the Super Bowl. You've already gone past the finish line. You are so far past that. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. . Father, why have you forsaken me? He didn't. You finally let go. You let go of the lies, the beliefs, everything that conflicted and the falseness, and you finally had had enough and you let go. But that's not how you felt. I was so, I don't know what the word is, because I've been meditating and doing healing work and praying and reading the Bible every day and going to the church. I was meditating every day in the morning for an hour or two and at night for an hour or two. Even on the weekends, I would do it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And finally, it come to this pinnacle where I had just put aside 2 weeks of time, and I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to eat food. I'm not going to do nothing but meditate. That's all I'm going to do. I meditated for 14 to 16 plus hours every single day. No food for 14 days. And I remember I just came to a point where, like, I see, when you meditate that deeply, there's nothingness. There's no thoughts. There's purity. You don't have there's nothingness. And I remember it was like I cried out because it's like nothing was happening, but it was really a mistake that I misunderstood. I actually did it correctly. But at the time, I didn't see it. I was just like, now I didn't say these words, but it was the same thing. I cried out to God, where are you? Why won't you help me? I literally remember looking up and I reached my arms up and I cried out, come inside me and take this anxiety away. Take this fear away. And I just literally, I was sobbing. And I mean, I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. I begged God, just come inside me and essentially just take over. The funny thing is, what I wanted to happen had actually already happened, but because it was like nothing happened, like a bomb didn't go off, or I didn't win $100,000 or win a trophy, like nothing, it was like nothingness. And I remember just bawling my eyes out to exhaustion, and I just looked up and I remember I said, I give up. And I went into my room and I slept for probably 12 hours or more. I don't remember, but I remember I slept a long time. And let me tell you something, that was the most peaceful sleep that I had ever had in my entire life. I had woken up with such clarity, such fullness of rest. I had never felt that good in my entire life, not once. What I let go of when I said I give up, I let go of all the worry. I let go of all the anxiety. I stopped caring. Just listen closely. I didn't mean I stopped caring about people. I stopped caring about everything, all the perfection. I stopped caring about right or wrong, or, oh, if you do this, God's going to send you to hell and burn you for all eternity. I let it all go. At the time, I felt like I quit on God. I felt like I had given up. I felt like I gave up on my faith. But I didn't. I let go of the religion, and I let go of all the conflicting beliefs and lies and narcissistic bullshit that was shoved down my throat. I actually embraced my faith by letting go. It's the letting go and having absolute. It was like it's like you don't care anymore. It's like you have 100% faith to be like, no, I'm done trying to control things. I'm done trying to live this perfect life. I'm done trying to be this perfect being. It was like I let go of the thinking. All I know is the next morning I woke up so well rested, such pure peace. I remember something was like, I was like, something's different. And I didn't know what it was, but I remember looking around my room, looking at my comforter, and something was different, but I didn't know what it was. I know now, I had popped open to my right brain, and I was seeing the colors. I was seeing vibrancy for the first time since I was a little child. Colors were more vibrant, they popped, they were vibrant, and sounds were clearer. My emotions, my feelings, I could feel. It was like what I was like when I was a little kid. Things were clear, like you could see the colors and feel, the feelings and hear the sounds. And it's just like when Jesus said in Matthew 18:3, he said, I truly, let's see, let me get the King James Version, hold on. And said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. This pure silence, this pure open, this pure awareness allowed me to have knowing. My ex-girlfriend had taken off. Nobody knew where she was. She didn't quit at work. She just didn't show up. Her sister called me because she lived at home with her sister and her family. Where is she? I'm like, I don't know. And I remember I meditated that night, and I meditated and meditated. Boom, something said, get up, go. I went to my car. I started driving down the road. And all of a sudden, that voice, that feeling went away. I'm like, okay, like, where'd you go? And that's exactly what it felt like when I finally gave up. So I was about to turn around. It said, take a right. So I took a right onto the highway. And I'm excited again. I'm going. And then it went away. And I'm like, okay, come on. Where are you? Like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, well, God's like, I'll tell you what to do when you get there. So I was driving down the highway. I was probably 10 minutes down the road. And it says, okay, take an exit here. And I got excited again. I'm going off this big, long exit, curving to the right to a stoplight or stop sign. And then it says, go left. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wow, like, what is this? Now, I didn't hear a voice. It was a feeling. I turned left, and I'm going to a stop sign. And kind of went away again. I'm like, I'm so excited. I'm like, tell me what to do. And so I drove another one. I took a right. And then I went down. I think it was about a half a block, 3/4 of a block. And it says, pull over, stop. My girlfriend was living in this like house that was turned into like a 4-plex apartment, and I got out of my car and I knew it was the one on the left on the first floor up the stairs, but I'm like, it's 2:30 in the morning. I can't knock on the freaking door at 2:30 in the morning. Now the driveway went kind of down a slope, and there was a big white van. Now, she called me up the next morning and said, I had the weirdest feeling. I felt like you were outside last night at about 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, where are you? And she goes, oh, I'm in Davis, which is the city I was in, by the way, Davis, California, where UC Davis is. And she gave me directions, and as I'm driving, taking the exit, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding. This is exactly where I went last night. And I pull up, and I park my car. I get out of my car, and I walk down the driveway. Her car was parked just on the other side of the van. If I would have taken 3 steps past my car onto the sidewalk, I would have seen her car. I did all kinds of things, from healing people, the most amazing things. Another time she had taken off. This is something, by the way, she was a narcissist. Something that narcissists do, like every now and then they just leave everyone. They literally ghost everyone. They don't tell anyone where they went. She had gotten in her car, and she had driven the other way, west on Highway 80, and it was about probably 15 minutes that way, maybe a little more. And it was this parking place, like when people travel, it's a rest stop, but this was a big one. So I just one night meditated. I think her sister called me again in panic, like, where is she? I haven't seen her. And I just meditated, and it didn't come to me right away, and you're kind of feeling like, okay, I guess this is not working. And then pop, it goes, get up, go, get in your car. Drove down the road the same way, except this time it says now go left, and I went down Highway 80 west, the opposite direction. And I just pulled over at this spot. Now, her and I had never been there before. We'd never gone there together for any reason. Nothing like that at all. And I'm pulling in, it was packed, and I even knew what lane to go down to find her car. So here's the message. When you collapsed what you thought was a collapse, when I'm going to read this. All right, I wrote this a couple days ago. It says, actually, I think this was from a song. When you completely fell apart, you are letting go. Now, I wrote this. So when you completely fell apart, you just quit. You gave up. You were having a nervous breakdown. You were crying. And you completely just I don't care anymore. You're letting go of your ego. When you just give up, quit, let go, is when you finally open up to you, which is God inside you. The nothingness within you is the truth. You just see things for the way they are versus the way you were told to see them. The beliefs, the rules, all the bullshit. Not the way you were told, not the way you were told, but the way that they are. not the way they said they were or taught you the way they were. You are now seeing life for the way it is. You never gave up on God. You gave up on all the lies. You finally found yourself. You finally found God. That's why you went into the isolation, because it was so extremely bizarre, going, wait a minute, is this the way these people have really treated me all these years? Because you were hoping one day, if you were nice to them, if you just sat down and talked to them, that somehow if you could just get them to understand that you're a good person, you were always the good person. That's why they attacked you. And that realization was so unbelievable. Even in this clarity, you still couldn't believe it. It literally seemed unreal. Completely collapsing is a form of completely letting go, which is what you were always meant to do in the first place. So what happened is all of a sudden you're seeing things for the way they are, and it's mind-blowing. So you went into isolation to allow your brain, it was an unconscious process where you were semi-conscious of thoughts and memories. Memories came up from childhood, didn't they? From your teens, from high school, from college, from your 20s, your early 20s. Things that someone said to you 25 years ago just popped up and you went, oh, they actually meant what they said. I thought they were joking. Like, no, they meant it. And it wasn't nice. So number one, what you did was a very good thing. It was very good towards God too. You finally found God. You finally let go, and you trusted. You trusted that being within you, God. The idea that a pastor or a minister or someone's going to tell you what God is saying to you, what you should do, is absolutely insane. God, if you silence your mind, if you get good at listening to God, God will tell you what to know. God will tell you what to do. Don't listen to other people. They're taking you off your path. Their path is completely different than yours because they're not at where you're at. Most of you are so far ahead of all the ministers and pastors on the planet, it's not even funny. Someone in first grade is going to tell you first grade stuff, believing that that's the way it is. It's not. They are on their own path. Everyone is on their own path. Depending on where you're at on your path, you're going to need to hear something different from God than that person over there. Because they're not on your path. They never will be. It's not their path. God will always tell you something different than the person standing right next to you. So listen to what God tells you, not what God tells someone else. Who cares if they call you a sinner? Who cares if they tell you some blasphemous bullshit? Your job is never to listen to them. Your job is to listen to God. Period. End of sentence. You are at where you are at. Most people have never dealt with the level of narcissist abuse and spiritual attacks that you've gone through, the gang stalking and all of that. They, as Pastor Rex would say to me, Michael, they're not eating the meat. They're still supping on their mama's teat. They're still infants. Stop listening to them. Welcome to the Church of Awesome. That's you. Silence your mind. Find that quiet space. Listen to God. This is how you take back your life. This is how you take charge of your life. So when you went into the isolation, what I call the Great Wall of China, and you just put that wall up to everyone, you were allowing your emotional system and your unconscious mind to process through all the memories with your new, I want to say awakening, but I think a lot, it's an awakening. You're going to go into the spiritual bullshit. I don't mean that. I mean you literally woke up to reality in the way things actually are. Because empaths, well, we were taught to see the good in everyone, even though they hurt you. No matter how much they hurt you, all you see is good in them. Well, no. There's a lot of bad out in the world. There's a lot of bad in a lot of people that you surrounded yourself with. And this reality was horrifying. It was shocking. But the good news is now we have an even playing field. And you've been getting knocked around for a long time and you're used to it. They're not. Now it's game on. You're fighting back. You're standing up for yourself. You're slamming doors in people's faces. You're hanging up the phone. You're walking and you're blocking. And they can't take it. You are flat out saying no more. Enough is enough. Whether you're directly verbally calling them on their shit and shoving it in their face, or indirectly by slamming the door, blocking them, they're getting the message. And they're shocked. Now you can win because now you see the game. Now get out there and kick ass. And have fun doing it. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. And remember, coaching is available. God bless you guys. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, make a comment. Remember, there's also a donation link. It's a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.